What's going on, y'all? It's JD Piquel. Today on the Hard Count, we're going to break down the 2021 football schedule for the Texas Longhorns. Welcome to 365 Sports. This is the Hard Count. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel. You're already here. You're not going to regret it. Content you can't get anywhere else. The Texas Longhorns have a new man at the helm in Steve Sarkisian. They enter year one in the Sark tank, and there's a lot to be excited about. You got 15 starters coming back of the 22, 7 on defense, 8 on offense, a new quarterback, and Sark is a quarterback whisperer, so there's a lot of reason for excitement on the offensive side of the ball. 4 offensive linemen. Bijan Robinson seems to have won every preseason accolade that you can win, according to the media. And there's going to be a lot of exciting football being played in Austin. Obviously, going 7-3 a year ago in a COVID year is kind of a weird sample size. Tom Herman out. But with Pete Kwiatkowski now taking over the defense and his reputation from coming from Washington and all the NFL studs they turned out, it feels like they might finally put together both sides of the football and start developing some of that talent they've been able to recruit. So we're just going to go game by game here, give our thoughts, give our feelings even a little bit, because that's what we do here before any games are played. Obviously, this is conservative. We're not necessarily saying this is exactly what it's going to be. I think a lot of these games and these predictions could change week to week. But bottom line, take it or leave it. Here's what we got from game to game with the Texas Longhorns. First one up, Louisiana. This is a game that I think a lot of people should be excited about. Obviously, you see Louisiana. It's not really the brand or the name value you get excited about as a Texas fan. But Louisiana was a few games away from playing for a New Year's Six Bowl last year. Like, they were going to go toe-to-toe with Coastal Carolina for the conference championship. I'm not so sure they wouldn't have beaten Coastal Carolina if that game doesn't get called. I think Texas wins this game. I think it's closer than Texas fans would like to see, but I don't think that's a bad win by any means. Again, Louisiana is a good football program. They come to Austin, and I think, again, Texas gets it done. Closer than what's comfortable, but again, it's a win. First game in Sark era, start out 1-0. Then they go to Arkansas. And this game is a swing game in a lot of ways for Texas this season. They go to SEC country. Sam Pittman and his Razorbacks played a lot better than I think their record indicates. They play gritty. They play tough. They run the football. They beat you up front. So they're going to be tested physically in this game. Everyone talks about the SEC being bigger, badder, better, and there's a reason for that. If it's a stereotype, it means it's probably true when it comes to college football. The SEC just tends to be more physically dominant. And so they'll give them an early welcome to the SEC. I think Texas wins this game. Again, tough, gritty, grind it out. I think Casey Thompson, who we're assuming is going to be the starting quarterback right now, I think he plays well enough to win, ends up being the difference. This is a big game because I think it also gives Sark a lot of credibility with the boosters. This is kind of a signature win saying, hey, we can do this in the SEC. I know we're not there right now, but we can go in and we can beat SEC football teams, even if it is a team like Arkansas, who isn't necessarily the blue blood of the conference. I think that's a big deal. I think that's a big win. Then they get Rice at home. We're not going to spend too much time there. Rice is a good program, not a great program. Texas should take care of business. And you got Texas Tech at home. So a pretty good stretch right here. And for everyone keeping up, they are, let's see, this makes it 4-0 if you beat Texas Tech. And I'm not sold on Tyler Show. I think a lot of people get excited about him because of where he comes from, being having a good year, not a great year at Oregon a year ago. But I think that they should be able to take care of Texas Tech. I don't think there's enough around Tyler Show for them to be competitive with Texas. And so at this point, you're 4-0 going to TCU. You got to feel pretty good about yourself if you're a Texas fan. This Sark hire looks good. The defense is probably flying around. Your quarterback's comfortable having 4 wins under his belt. I don't think they win at TCU. I think that's their first loss of the year. Max Duggan is really solid. As history reminded us this week with that hearing, 3-7 the last 10 years against the Horned Frogs. I think they go down to 3-11 in this game. But again, I just think Max Duggan is too dynamic. I don't think that Texas will be ready for this kind of a road test. Obviously, they have that big win at Arkansas, assuming the schedule stays true to what it is. But playing a conference game just has more juice to it. It just does. I think TCU is going to mix them up defensively. I like TCU to win that game. And then you go to Dallas for a square down in the Red River rivalry with the presumed Monstars, world beaters, that Oklahoma is going to be bringing in here. Spencer Rattler is everybody's favorite to win the Heisman Trophy, at least in Las Vegas. I think this game is close. I think that Sark honestly gets some credit here because he's going to help establish more credibility with boosters. I think this is a game where Texas looks competitive, and I know they don't really care if you lose, but I do think this helps them a little bit. So I think they lose to Oklahoma, but they look competitive. They put up a good showing. They don't get blown out. Casey Thompson plays well, ideally. I think the defense takes strides and shows that they can hang with this Oklahoma offense. Also, at the end of this game, whoever's winning, it doesn't matter which fan base, they're going to be chanting SEC, which will be annoying, but I think will be a storyline going into that weekend in college football of the earliest version of what this SEC rivalry will look like, which is just weird to say out loud. These two Big 12 powers going to be the SEC rivalry in the near future. I think they lose that game. Then you have Oklahoma State at home. I think they take care of business, mostly because I just don't really think Spencer Sanders is that great. I think he's hot and cold all the time, can't stay healthy. I question his decision-making with the football. No Chuba Hubbard, no Tylan Wallace, no Dylan Stoner. Like, there's a lot of pieces missing for Oklahoma State. So I think Texas gets back on track, beat Oklahoma State, keep this party rolling, as we like to say. And this is one that I'm going to get a lot of heat for. So they take a bye week, and then they have to go to Waco to play Baylor. And this is a loss I think they take. It might not be to Baylor. I just think they drop a game that they necessarily aren't supposed to drop, if that makes sense. So it could be Baylor. It could be later in the season. It could be to Texas Tech. But I just think they drop a game, and I'm just going to put it against Baylor because that's the way I feel about their defense. Baylor, in my opinion, should have a top 20 defense. They could end up making this a little bit of a back and forth. I think Baylor's going to come in here and just dominate them defensively. I think Texas won't be as ready for the physicality of what Baylor's going to bring up front, specifically on the defensive line. I like a lot what Siaki Ika brings for them, and the way they're going to hang their hat offensively for Texas is going to be running the football. Bijan Robinson, they were 5.3 yards a clip a year ago, no matter who was running the football. But I think that Baylor's able to neutralize that and is able to beat Texas. Also worth noting, both these teams are coming into this game off of a bye. So going to an opponent off of a bye week just kind of feels weird. I'm not going to lie to you. Just kind of feels weird. I like Baylor to win that game. Then you go to Iowa State. And this is a tough stretch if you're Texas, assuming they lose to Baylor. You go to Ames, Iowa. Iowa State brings back 19 of 22 guys. One of them being Breece Hall, another one of them being Brock Purdy. And Breece Hall, for my money, is the best pound-for-pound running back in the entire country. And so, again, I think the physicality, it's later in the season, the physicality of Iowa State starts to wear on Texas. We see some chinks in the armor. We see a team that's under a new staff, and maybe they're just not quite as mature as you want them to be yet. I think they lose to Iowa State. Then you got Kansas. And Kansas is a team that I'm excited about in the near future. I think Coach Leipold's the guy to get it done there. I don't know how long that takes, but I don't think that it's this year. Beat Kansas pretty handily, again, in Austin. To West Virginia, it's country roads. I don't think they have too much trouble there. I'm not sold on anybody at West Virginia. Whether it's Daggy playing quarterback or not, I don't think it matters too much. I just like the talent of Texas to bounce back. Maybe they lose 2 straight. Don't think it's 3 straight, especially if they beat Kansas, but I don't think they'll lose to West Virginia. Then you got Kansas State at home to finish out the season. And Kansas State, another physical team, but at this point, Texas gotten back their mojo according to my schedule predictions. They beat Kansas, they beat West Virginia, finished season strong against Kansas State, end up going 8-4, which is a really good season. I don't think that last year's team goes 8-4. Obviously, they went 7-3, but I think in a 12-game season, you might be closer to losing 4 games, even 5 games. So I don't think it's a step backwards, even though you have that one more loss if you're Texas. Again, I believe in Sark. I think his offense is going to be really good. I don't know if they're really good right off the bat, but I think over time, if they give him that 3 to 4 year window, Texas is going to be a problem because they're going to develop talent on the offense and defensive side of the ball. They're going to be able to get a stable expectation for what they're going to bring at quarterback, because right now there's a lot of question marks around who's going to play quarterback and what are they going to ask him to do at quarterback. And right now, this RPO scheme with Bijan Robinson and your 4 offensive linemen puts them in a favorable position. So 8-4, you shouldn't be upset if you're a Longhorn fan. 8-4 is a good season. You're playing for a bowl game under your first-year head coach. A lot of reason for excitement and optimism. Again, I'm being conservative here with 4 losses. I think it could be a lot less than that. I think the ceiling is maybe 2 losses, but that's another video for another time. Okay, subscribe to the channel. Like the video. We went over that. We'll keep this party rolling. That's it. That's it for us here at The Hard Count, and we will see y'all next time.